The American Civil Liberties Union, or ACLU, is a non-profit organization founded in 1920 to defend and preserve the individual rights and liberties guaranteed to every person in this country by the Constitution and laws of the United States. The ACLU was formed in the years following World War I, when America was gripped by a fear of the Communist Revolution, and General Palmer began to round up and deport so-called radicals with little regard for civil liberties. Officially non-partisan, the ACLU works through litigation and lobbying and has over 1.7 million members, 500 staff attorneys, and an annual budget of over $300 million. Local affiliates of the ACLU are active in all 50 states, the District of Columbia, and Puerto Rico. The ACLU provides legal assistance in cases where it considers civil liberties to be at risk. Legal support from the ACLU can take the form of direct legal representation or preparation of amicus curiae briefs expressing legal arguments when another law firm is already providing representation. The ACLU's policy positions are established by its board of directors, and recent examples include opposing the death penalty, supporting same-sex marriage and the right of LGBT people to adopt, supporting reproductive rights such as birth control and abortion rights, eliminating discrimination against women, minorities, and LGBT people, decarceration in the United States, supporting the rights of prisoners and opposing torture, and upholding the separation of church and state. In 2020, it brought over 406 legal actions against the Trump administration, ranging from workers' rights, voting rights, to immigration rights and racial justice. So, how are they structured? Legally and technically, the ACLU consists of two affiliated nonprofit organizations, namely the American Civil Liberties Union, a 501c4 social welfare group, and the ACLU Foundation, a 501c3 public charity. Both organizations engage in civil rights litigation, advocacy, and education, but only donations to the 501c3 foundation are tax deductible, and only the 501c4 group can engage in unlimited political lobbying. The two organizations share office spaces and employees. The ACLU also has affiliate organizations in the US states that provide local assistance to individuals and also lobby for particular local policy positions. So, leadership. The ACLU is led by a president and an executive director, Susan Nerman and Anthony Romero, respectively. The president acts as chair of the ACLU's board of directors, leads fundraising, and facilitates policy setting. The executive director manages the day-to-day operations of the organization. The board of directors consists of a whopping 80 persons, including representations from each state affiliate, as well as at-large delegates. The leadership of the ACLU does not always agree on policy decisions. Differences of opinion within the ACLU have sometimes grown into major debates. For example, in 1937, an internal debate erupted over whether to defend Henry Ford's right to distribute anti-union literature. In 1939, a heated debate took place over whether to prohibit communists from serving in the ACLU leadership roles. And during the 1950s and McCarthyism, the board was divided on whether to defend communists. In 1973, at the Watergate scandal, leadership was initially divided over whether to call for President Nixon's impeachment and removal from office. And in 2005, there was an internal conflict about whether or not a gag rule should be imposed on ACLU employees to prevent publication of internal disputes. But there have been some major success cases too. For example, and hopefully everyone knows about this, the 1954 Brown versus Board of Education. The ACLU, having joined the NAACP in the legal battle for equal education, celebrated a major victory when the Supreme Court declared that racially segregated schools were a violation of the 14th Amendment. In 1997, a more recent example, in ACLU versus Reno, the Supreme Court struck down the 1996 Communications Decency Act, which censored the internet by broadly banning indecent speech. Since then, Congress has passed numerous versions of the Child Online Protection Act, a federal law that would criminalize constitutionally protected speech on the internet. Each time, the law has been challenged by the ACLU and declared unconstitutional. So let's talk about funding. In FY 2020, the ACLU and ACLU Foundation had a combined income of $322 million USD. 288 million of that was grants and contributions, which essentially are membership dues, which are treated as donations. Members choose the amount they pay annually, averaging approximately $50 per member per year. 14 million was donated legal service, 26 million bequests, and 2.4 million from other revenue sources, such as fundraising or events. As you can see from this graph, there has been an overall increase in donations following US President Trump's January 27 executive order barring millions of refugees and citizens of 7 Muslim-majority countries. In 2020 as well, the combined expenses of the ACLU and ACLU Foundation was 300 million, 86.2% spent on programs, 7.4% on management, and 8.2% on fundraising. After factoring other changes in net assets of over 30.9 million from sources such as investment income, the organization had an overall decrease in net assets of 2.1 million. This is considered highly efficient by charity regulators as the majority of funding was spent on programmatic work as opposed to overhead costs. From a charitable commission perspective, if you spend your money on impactful work, then you're doing the right job. The ACLU solicits donations to its charitable foundation. The ACLU is accredited by the Better Business Bureau, and the Charity Navigator has ranked the ACLU with a 4-star rating. The local affiliate chapters of the ACLU do solicit their own funding. However, some also receive funds from the national ACLU, which varies from state to state. There have been some controversies around the ACLU. In October 2004, the ACLU rejected a 1.5 million grant from the Ford Foundation and the Rockefeller Foundation because the foundations had adopted language from the US Patriot Act in their donation agreements, including a clause stipulating that none of the money would go to underwriting terrorism or other unacceptable activities. The ACLU views this clause as a threat to civil liberties, saying it's overly broad and ambiguous. Due to the nature of its legal work, the ACLU is often involved in litigation against governmental bodies, which are generally protected from adverse monetary judgments. A town, state, or federal agency may be required to change its laws or behave differently, but not to pay monetary damages, except by an explicit statutory waiver. In some cases, the law permits plaintiffs who successfully sue government agencies to receive money or collect damages. In particular, the Civil Rights Attorneys Fees Award Act of 1967 leaves the government liable in some civil rights cases. Under laws such as this, the ACLU and state affiliates sometimes share in monetary judgments against government agencies. The ACLU has received court-awarded fees from opponents. For example, the Georgia affiliate was awarded $150K in fees after suing a county demanding the removal of the Ten Commandments display from its courthouse. Why do we need the ACLU? Efforts to erase voting rights, trans rights, and abortion rights to millions of people are escalating across the country. The ACLU are responding on all fronts, from courts to legislators in all 50 states, DC, and Puerto Rico, but they need your help to win. The American Civil Liberties Union, or ACLU, is a